My name is Claire-Bucholz, and I'm a Ph.D. student at the Earth Atmospheric and Planetary Science Department at MIT. I'm part of the Joint Program, which is between MIT and Woods-Hole down on the Cape in Massachusetts. So I work between both MIT and Woods-Hole. My primary advisor is up here at MIT. His name is oliver-jagoutz. Broadly, what I do with Ollie is I think about how the continental crust is formed, so the mechanisms and the processes involved in continental crust formation. In particular, I study subduction zones. So subduction zones are where one plate, a tectonic plate, subducts underneath another one. And generally this is associated with magmatism. And the magmas that are created at subduction zones are the primary way that new material is added to the continental crust. So while this is the primary way that the continental crust is formed, there's still many questions about it because we physically can't study these processes going on in the crust, 10 or 20 or 30 kilometers down. So you can look at magmas at the surface, but what's actually going on deep down in the crust where the magmas are being generated and crystallized, there's still a lot of open questions about it. And so these are the questions I'm trying to address, and I do that through work that I do in Mongolia. And the reason that I go to Mongolia is because about 500 million years ago there was an active subduction zone there. And now those rocks that were once at the base of the crust are at the surface. So through various tectonic processes, mountain buildings, they were brought up, and now they've been eroded so that they're at the surface, and I can walk around and see the different magmatic rocks that were once, we think, 20 to 30 kilometers deep. I first became interested in geology in high school, actually. I guess a lot of geologists say that they've been interested in rocks forever, and I guess I was too as a little kid. But I took a geology course as a 10th grader in high school, and I did it during a study abroad program in Switzerland. And so it was a really unique experience where I was able to observe the geology around me while taking this class. So I remember we had a lab on glaciers, and we got to hike right to a glacier. So it was a pretty surreal experience. But that's how I initially became interested in it, and then I pursued it in college. I studied more metamorphic petrology and geochemistry in college, but I was always interested in the ideas of subduction zones from multiple different perspectives. So both the metamorphic rocks associated with subduction zones, but also the igneous rocks that are formed at subduction zones. And so it was sort of a natural process to start studying the igneous rocks after I had looked at the metamorphic rocks. And MIT and the Joint Program in conjunction with MIT seemed like a great place to do it. So my research, there's two components of it. One is what I do in the summer when I go out into the field, and that there's a lot of different things, but I'm basically going out there trying to understand the geology. So I look at the rocks, I make observations about the minerals that are present, the textures in the rocks, how two different rocks are juxtaposed with each other. So is it along a fault, or what did one rock, if it's an igneous rock, did it intrude another rock? And I write down these observations, and I also make geologic maps. That I look at in particular have a unique composition, and they're really not found anywhere else on the Earth. Sometimes you find little fragments of them that are brought up to the surface of the Earth in volcanic eruptions, but this is really the first time that this group of igneous rocks has been documented basically from a full array of different compositions that you see in this igneous suite. It's probably about 10 kilometers by 10 kilometers area on the Earth where you can walk out this very unique suite of igneous rocks. And so we're really just trying to get at it as sort of a first principles way, just understanding what the rocks are, what their composition is, and how they're related to each other. So we don't just see one kind of igneous rock, we see lots of different kinds that look like they're related to each other through a common crystallization sequence. And so just really trying to document a new and unique type of rock. The other thing that I do in the field is I take samples, and these samples I have shipped back to the States. And then once I'm back at MIT, this is sort of where the second part of my research starts. I am trying to investigate the chemistry of these rocks. So I'll take these rocks and I'll do various kinds of geochemical analyses on them. So I'll think about the composition of the whole rock, and then I'll go and I'll look at the individual compositions of the minerals within the rocks. And each of these kinds of data can tell me different things about the rocks. The mineral data in particular can tell me information about at what depths in the crust did these rocks crystallize at, and also at what temperatures. With the whole rock composition, I can understand the full suite of igneous rocks that I'm looking at and try to understand how they're related to each other. So two broad types of work that I do: field work and then lab work, where I'm studying the chemistry. For me, one of the most engaging and interesting things about geology is to be able to go outside or to any new landscape and be able to look at the rocks and to look at the features in the landscapes and be able to tell something about how they got there and why they are there. And the time that I've spent in the field, both in Mongolia but also just in the backyard in Massachusetts, have really made me come to appreciate that, and have made me realize that fieldwork hopefully will be an integral part of my future career as a geologist. And being able to integrate, to be able to visualize what I'm seeing in the field, and to be able to gain data and insight, both from the field, but also then coming back to the lab and gaining information from the lab and being able to integrate those two it's very invigorating.